This is Mirabella's Kitchen, and today I'm making white chocolate bread pudding. If you'd like to cook with me, please check the description below for a list of the ingredients and a shout out to my patrons. I start by taking one stale loaf of French bread. I'm going to rip this French bread up into small pieces until I have about 6 cups worth of French bread. What I noted was the French bread on the interior was still pretty moist, and I want this to be very, very dry. So I'm going to dry it out. To dry it out, I put it onto a baking dish, and I'm going to throw it into the oven while it preheats. So I'm preheating my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to let this sit in the oven for about 5 minutes to dry out the moist pieces of bread. After that, I then add in 3/4 cup of white chocolate chips. And I'm going to start making a custard, so I'm taking 3 large eggs, adding them into a mixing bowl. I whisk those together. I like to do it early because I notice that when I try to whisk eggs with milk and all these other things, they are still stringy. I then add in 1 cup of white sugar and combine. I'm using 4 tablespoons of melted salted butter, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I'm using a pinch of freshly grated nutmeg, so just eyeball it. Next, I add in 3 cups of whole milk and combine. I'm gonna slowly add the custard to the bread and chocolate chips. I don't want this to be soupy. I want it to be moist. So I'm gonna start with half the mixture and slowly add it until it is moist. You wanna give it time to start to absorb the liquid. I did not use all of the custard. Next, I take a 9 by 12 inch baking dish, and I'm going to use cooking spray to grease it. I add in the mixture of bread pudding, and I'm going to flatten it out with a spatula. I'm going to place this into my 325 degree Fahrenheit oven for 35 minutes before I check it. So after 35 minutes, I'm checking it I'm just using a knife to see if it bounces back. It's still kind of moist, so I'm gonna turn it and keep it in the oven for another 5 to 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm gonna make a rum sauce with this. I melt 4 tablespoons of salted butter over medium heat and add in 3/4 cup of powdered sugar and cream that together. Next, I add in 1 egg yolk, though I do recommend taking it off the heat. I left it on the heat because I had a brain fart and the egg started to cook. So take it off the heat before adding the egg yolk. Stir to combine, and then add in 1/8 cup of rub. I'm using Havana Club rum. And I whisk that together until it is homogeneous, though because I accidentally let the egg start to cook, it is not a smooth sauce for me. I'm going to take care of that in a moment. So once the top of the bread pudding is golden brown, it's good to come out of the oven. I then take a sieve and pour the rum sauce over the top of the bread pudding to separate the clumps. And I spread the sauce around the top. And I'm using a scooper to plate up some servings. And that is my white chocolate bread pudding. Thanks for joining me today. I usually make videos every Thursday, but I have been failing a bit. But things are about to get back on track. So thank you so much for your support. Please support me on Patreon and on Facebook at Mirabella's Kitchen.